Hello, pre-algebra students. Mr. Lawrence here with your flipped lesson. All right. We are going to get a little extra practice with number systems, make sure we're getting it very good. And I will remind you that first we knew about the natural numbers, right? And the natural numbers were things like 1, 2, 3. They didn't include any decimals, any fractions, right? And they had their own little circle. Right? No fractions, no decimals. All right, and then we learned about the whole numbers, And the whole numbers were very similar. Oh, that doesn't even look like a W, pardon me. The whole numbers were very similar to the natural numbers. Oh my goodness, what just happened there? All right, the whole numbers were just like the natural numbers. No fractions, no decimals, except they started with 0 instead of starting with 1, right? So they're basically the same thing except they include 0. Let me slide these down inside of each other. All right, and then we learned about the integers. And the integers were very much like the whole numbers except they also included the negatives. So they go, let me see here, dot, 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 -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3. And notice that the 1 shows up in all 3 circles. It's in the red circle, it's in the green circle, and it's in the blue circle. And still we don't have any fractions or decimals. And I know this is review, but the more you hear it, the more likely something is going to stick. All right, and then we learned about our rational numbers. The Q, those are the rationals. And those were all fractions. Oh man, Mr. Lawrence. Fractions. And also decimals if they did one or of 2 things. I don't know what just happened there. Let me do that. Properties. Oh, I see what's going on. Okay. There we go. Fractions. And then decimals that end or repeat. Right? Okay. So, there was this other group that was kind of strange, and they were called the irrationals, right? Let me find an unusual color here. Ooh, there's an ugly shade of yellow. Okay, and the irrationals, right? And they were a very special group, kind of odd, because they include only decimals that never end nor repeat. And the most famous of which is pi, right? But there's lots of them. Okay, the rationals could be like 1.4, 2.0, 1/4, -6/7. Okay, 5.14. That repeats. Those are all rational numbers. And altogether, these guys all together make up what we call the real numbers. Right? Okay, so you've had your little quick review, and we are going to get testing on this. You can always go back and look at this. Hopefully it's in your notes. But let's test it out here. Hold on one second. Okay, I want you to check out, there's 7 problems here. There's 6, and there's a 7th one at the bottom. And you'll write these down in your notes, and then you're supposed to determine which number systems they all belong to. Okay, so go ahead and pause the video and do that. There's the first 5, and there's the last 2. Okay, and decide. I'm just going to use the symbol. When you're ready to check your answers, unpause, and you can see what I put and see if you're right. All right, number 1. I've got natural. It's whole. It's an integer. it's rational, and it is also a real number. Remember, every number we deal with in here is going to be real. All right, so that is the answer to number 1, N, W, Z, Q, and R. It doesn't look like I gave myself enough space. Okay, so 7 belongs to natural, whole, integer, rational, real. All right, hopefully you're ready to see the answer for number 2, negative 35. That is an integer, that's rational, and it's also a real number. Number 3, it's a decimal that ends. That means it fits in the rational category. Decimals don't show up to the rational, and it's also real. Number 4, guess what? Another decimal that ends. So it is both rational and real. Number 5 is a decimal that repeats. That's rational and real. All right, and finally, number 6 is a fraction, right? That makes it rational and real. Some of you might think it was an integer because it's negative. Remember that fractions don't show up until the rational numbers. All right, and then number 7 is a decimal that goes on forever without repeating, which makes it irrational. But of course, it is automatically real because every number we deal with in here is a real number. All right, that's it. Real quick video tonight. Hope you have a good night. We'll talk to you later. Mr. Lawrence signing off. Good night, everybody.